All right, guys, we're back for episode 7. We have a very special guest, UFC fighter, 155-pound division, Darrick Minner, 25-11. Darrick, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm a featherweight, by the way, though.
Featherweight, right. All right, so my first question I have, so we just do like the background, and then Nick will hit you heavy with all the UFC questions. So the first one I have is, could you tell everybody where you're from?
I'm from Nebraska City, Nebraska. Small town, just south of Omaha.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, Omaha's on my bucket list because I really want to check out the College World Series, and then also I would love to go see a Cornhuskers game in the future, for sure.
Yeah, man. There ain't nothing like Memorial Stadium on a Cornhusker Sunday, man.
Really?
Yeah, bro. It's insane. No matter if we're 3-10 or we're national champs, it doesn't matter. It's good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Love it. Cool. So could you tell us how did you wind up getting into MMA?
Well, shit. I mean, I was in high school. I was 16 years old, and I went to school, and one of my good friends throughout school was Anthony Smith. And I used to watch him he fight when he was 18 years old in, I don't know, in the bars and, went back in the old school days with, the little auditoriums. They used to have him at the bars and stuff. And used to go and watch him fight, man. And then after I got done with college wrestling, I wrestled 1 year at Iowa Lakes Community College. And then after that, I was kind of bored. And then one day, one of my buddies, it wasn't him, it was just a random guy that you'd never think fought. He was like, man, I think I'm going to try this. It's kind of a bucket list thing. And next thing you know, I was like, shit, I'll do it. And then I fell in love, man. I went in there and we drove 4 hours to fight. And next thing you know, it was, it was pretty, I was hooked.
You were like, I'm pretty good at this thing. That's awesome that you know Anthony Smith. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, man, I've known Anthony since I was 8 years old. So
Oh, wow.
That's incredible.
That's cool. So if you can remember, because I know you had a ton of fights, because I was looking up your your MMA resume, which is awesome with the amount of fights you had. If you can let everybody know, what was your amateur record, some of your achievements in amateur, and when did you know you were ready to go pro?
As an amateur, I think I was 12-2. I held 3 amateur titles just around the Midwest. When I was ready to turn pro, man, is when I don't know, it's kind of like I'd fought everybody around here, and it was just one of those things that were like, all right, well, let's turn pro. I didn't make the decision. My management, I was with my management, crazy enough. I was with them guys from pretty much day one. I had one fight without them as an amateur. So it's pretty crazy. And then, all my coaches, everybody were just like, yeah, whatever. I quit my job and I quit my full-time job and pursued it full-time for my pro debut, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay. And then, so that also hits on my next question. I like to show, whether it's boxing or MMA, that you guys are human, so you always have some crazy emotions leading up to the fight. So your pro debut was on October 13, 2012 versus Dominic Blanco on Disorderly Conduct 12's fight card in Nebraska. So what were your nerves like? Were you nervous, or was it everyday business for you to get in that cage?
If we go back to those times, man, I would have took one more amateur fight, because I actually got suspended for 6 months by the Iowa Athletic Commission because me and my last amateur opponent had a fight after the fight, and coaches were fighting. It was a big eruption. So yeah, I was super nervous because it was 6 months. Usually I was fighting every other month, every month. So, it's a pro fight. I was fighting a bum. So it was I should have went out there and just, handled him, but I got caught a guillotine choke, and yeah, that's just, I mean, emotions are compared to now is just a lot different. And I can't remember what they were, but I'm sure they were crazy.
Right. Gotcha. Well, thank you for answering that because, like, again, I like to show that you guys are human. Like some fighters are nervous in the back, and then once either they get hit or once they walk into the ring, they're fine. So yeah, thank you for answering that one.
Yeah, I've been in so many fights that it's second nature. I mean, you're always gonna have the emotions no matter what you're gonna do. You could do a thing 1,000 times, but you walk in that cage, you're in the back, the emotions are the same. You just want to just the biggest thing is having the right people in your locker room and not getting lost in your own thoughts. That's the biggest thing. Because if you get lost in your own thoughts, you get stuck with your own thoughts, and you don't have the right people to pull you out of those thoughts when you're in the back, just keeping you occupied and stuff. It might be a long night or what. So
yeah, exactly. Me and Nick are used to guys like when like they're like pro fighters. So like Kyle Dawkins, Chris Dawkins, and Sean Brady, they have fought out of the CFFC. So it seemed like you were on like almost every like promotional card that you could have been on. Was there like a certain company that you were fighting out of, or was it like anyone that you were able to get on? Because like I saw you were on a few cards for Disorderly Conduct, CF, RFA, and VFC.
yeah, it was mostly growing up as a pro fighter. I grew up in the LFA and the RFA, and before then I was a Dynasty Combat Sports which was Disorderly Conduct. That's my management's promotion in Nebraska, and so pretty much I just like to keep busy. So I could have stayed in the LFA and RFA and just had fights for them, but I wanted 5, 6, 7 fights a year. So they allowed me, when I signed under contract with RFA at the time, which was a long time ago before they turned to LFA, they allowed me to take fights outside on my manager's promotion. So them were pretty much the two big ones. And then Victory, we finally, they wanted me on their cards for years, but finally we came to terms for a couple fights, right when I switched to 145. So.
Yeah, no, that is like great to like fight on all these different cards because like it also gives you exposure and also you're building up your brand and all too. So that's great.
Yeah. I mean, now I would just like to get probably, I don't know, like we got a pretty good method here in Nebraska with my management and stuff. Like once you're signed with the bigger fights, like as long as we can, get a fight outside, the bigger promotions with them and just keep the ball rolling. Like
yes.
I like to keep 6, 7 fights a year when I was coming up, and I got guys that are just like that. Then I got other guys that want to take it slower. So I mean, just whatever your preference is.
Yeah, of course. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit into your career. So tell us about the exciting call that you got from the UFC. Even though it was a short notice fight, but like, of course, when you get a call from the UFC, of course, you're going to jump at that opportunity. But what was that phone call like to get a call from whether it was from the UFC itself or if it was from your manager telling you? So what was it like to get the call to fight Grant Dawson on UFC Fight Night 169?
Crazy enough, like when people talk about like talking about some and manifesting some and doing that enough that it's gonna happen. I talked about that fight card in Virginia because I saw there was 5 or 6 145 fights on there for a month and a half. And I didn't really like think it was going to happen, but I was like, I could very well be on this card. And I wasn't really like getting in fight shape. I really wasn't like, I was just going about my business because I didn't know where the career was going to take me. And I had a show the week before my debut. So it had been that Wednesday right before I was throwing a show with my management. We were co-promoting a show about 10 miles from my hometown, a little small town. And he calls me just to talk business. And so it was 10 o'clock at night. And he was like, hey, man, like, so we went to talk about, because one of our guys pulled off. And so we had to fill a fight. And he just went to talk about it. And it was business as usual. And then he was like, "Oh, by the way, don't do no late night snacking. We're fighting in the UFC next week against Grant Dawson." And I was like, are you kidding me, man? Like, what the hell? Like, how he held it in, I don't know. Like, how he didn't jump, because I mean, you're talking to a guy that's been with me for 12 years. So how he didn't call me freaking out, I don't know. But that was the craziest. I was just like so confused. Like, I didn't understand, like, in my body, the adrenaline rush that I just got. And I was like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah, blah, blah, blah." So I packed my bags and went to the gym because I knew I needed to get some weight off, because I was 168 pounds at the time. So I knew I had to go get work and get the weight off. But yeah, that's pretty much how it went. It was pretty surreal, like crazy. Like, he held it in for probably 15 minutes. Not going to lie. 15 minutes before he actually told me, and we were on the phone.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, I am the worst at surprises. So if I ever become like a PR or manager for like any like boxer, I probably wouldn't be able to keep it in. I feel like I would just ruin it. There's no way that I would be able to be so chill.
Well, and we needed to get that done before they called. Like, it's on his part, it was like, okay, I need to get the business done, because after I tell him this, ain't shit getting done. Like,
Yeah,
he's gonna,
right.
like, I mean, I was screaming in my house and woke up my kid, everything. I was just, and it was pretty crazy. But he was smart about that. But at the same time, like, I was like, "Are you kidding me, man? Like, you literally just held that in." And just nonchalantly was like, "Hey, don't do no late night snacking tonight. You're gonna go fight in the UFC next week." So it's pretty cool.
That's so funny. So what was that whole week like? Because like that must have been like, I know like you're trying to get ready for a fight, but it's like, holy shit, like I'm actually fighting in the UFC, and you got like your media obligations and stuff. So what was that whole fight week like leading up to that? Were you able to like enjoy it, or were you just like all like really, really focused to make an impression?
My biggest thing was making weight. Like, I was big when he made the call, and like the emotions were, it was the last event with fans. Like, if I look back to it now, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, it was like a normal fight week for me. I've been at this for a long time. I've always known I belonged in the UFC. So like, it was definitely more exciting. I had more people messaging me. I had more social media stuff going on. I had to be at a certain time. But the crazy part is, it was way better because it was so much organized. You got these local shows, and they're just not as organized. So like, everything's laid out for you, and so you know what you have to do and all that stuff. So it was basically a normal fight week. I was just in Virginia doing it, and I was fighting in the UFC. So
Gotcha. All right. So let's talk about your last fight. It was against TJ Laramie on UFC Fight Night again. So that must have been a huge accomplishment for you, because like I know like when like the you didn't have the outcome that you really wanted on your UFC debut. So like of course like you wanted to whether knock him out or just finish him. So you were able to submit him. So how much of a great feeling was that for you to get him to submit?
man, the crazy part is, like, leading up to the whole, like, the fight and all that stuff, all I heard the whole week, the whole 6 weeks, or it was only 3 or 4 weeks, whatever it was, 3 weeks, I think, was about TJ Laramie. And, like, I'm like, guys, like, and obviously we knew how, the difference, but once we got in there, we mixed it up, and then he ended up tapping. It was like 12 years of my life that I grinded and I ignored. How people don't understand how much you miss out on when you're a professional fighter. Nobody understands it. Like, it's crazy. Like, I'm now I just turned 30. So you look back on it, you're like, damn, my whole 20s were for that moment that happened. You know what I mean? So like, it was just the most surreal moment. And like, when I jumped up and I ran over the corner, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, that was literally my emotions. Like, wow. You know what I mean? What just happened? Did that really just happen? Did that, and not saying that I always knew that my goals have always been to get wins inside the UFC and to break the top 15, but to it actually happen. And it was just kind of like wow, that just happened. And the fact that it was 50 seconds over a top prospect that they were hyping up, you know, everything was for that moment. And, you know, now we just move up from here and everything will be for the moments coming forward. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was very exciting. Also, I like to get guests to sign things for us, just to keep it like a collection. So I do have an image of you having them in the submission. So I will mail it out to you and all, and I will print you one a copy too,
hell yeah.
as well. Also, after that fight, you had the most savage comment, and I laughed because I watched it a couple days ago after Nick said that we were gonna have you on. So. You were a plus 260 underdog, and you wished all the gamblers that they lost their ass.
and I don't understand. Like, it's funny how shit just comes to you when they ask you about that stuff because, like, you know, I like to gamble on fights, you know, and stuff like that every once in a while. And so, like, I knew the odds and everybody kept talking about the odds and I was getting tagged in it. But then I had people, like, that knew what I knew. They're like, how is Darrick Minner, a guy that has this much experience, this much fight experience, this big of an underdog? You know what I mean? Like, and my thing is, like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to be the underdog going in this next fight, and I know it. But you know, the fact is they were getting plus 1,700 odds for a first-round submission.
That's crazy.
Are you kidding? I have 22 first-round submissions.
Right.
Like, that's insane to me, you know? And so that's just what came out. Like, I'm just like, are you kidding? Like, I hope y'all lost your ass. But I definitely made some people some money that night, and I probably busted a lot of parlays. I know I busted a lot of parlays.
For sure. Oh, my God. So I have two fun questions for you, and then I will pass it on to Nick. So my first one I have is, so obviously during like the quarantine and all, it was like tough to like train and all. Like, have you, like, what have you been doing? Like, have you like gotten any new shows to like binge watch on? So like for like me, I loved the Karate Kid growing up, so I gave Cobra Kai a chance on Netflix, and like it turned out that I just couldn't stop watching because it was like 20-minute episodes and they were all great. So now I'm like really excited for January 1st for season 3 to drop. And then I also watched All Americans, also a really good one. So like, has there been any like new shows that you've been binge watching?
Yeah, man, I can't for the life of me think of which show we watched. Raymond Reddington was the show. What show was that, Jordan? Oh, she's outside. I don't know. I can't remember what show that was. But then now I think we're watching Sneaky Pete.
Okay.
Show.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Yeah, man, we binge watch them all. I mean, it's kind of like, it's probably bad because we only do that. Start watching shows at like 10 o'clock when we're falling asleep. But so next thing you know, she's passed out, and I'm like, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm gonna have to rewatch these episodes because she fell asleep 2 hours ago.
Do you get in trouble for doing that?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
My wife kills me every single time we do that.
She's like, you watched 3 episodes without me? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm sorry I don't fall asleep in 5 minutes. I mean, once it catches my attention, it's, I'll sit there and watch it. I'm like, oh shit, it's 1 a.m. I better fall asleep, so.
That's so funny. And then my last question I have, so it could be at any age. What was your favorite Christmas gift you ever got, or like one that goes on top of your head? Like mine. Nick's probably gonna laugh at this one. So like, I am a huge Eagles fan, so I loved James Thrash. So when I got that number 80 jersey, even though he sucked in the NFL, he was my favorite Eagle. So I was so hyped to run out there and play some football in it.
Man, for one, the Blacklist was the one show that I was talking about.
Yep.
Okay, Blacklist is probably one of all-time favorites. But as far as Christmas gift, man, I was a sophomore in high school, and I got my grandma bought me new wrestling shoes, right? And I had the same pair since for 5 years, and they were probably used at the time, so So I was pretty pumped up about that. I got the wrestling shoes I wanted and stuff. That's what first comes to mind. So yeah, it's probably a new pair of wrestling shoes because I'm not sure I probably ever had brand new pair of wrestling shoes until that moment.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I mean, all it is just like the little things that just really make you happy. So that's like great to hear. Thank you so much for answering my questions. I'm going to pass it on to Nick now, Darrick. Thank you.
Right on. Thanks, man.
Yep.
What's going on, Darrick? How are you?
Doing not too bad. How are you?
Not bad. Not bad myself, man. So you're in like one of the craziest divisions in the UFC, in my opinion. Right now, I think it's between like maybe the bantamweight division and your division at featherweight. So your next opponent is Charles Rosa, and I think I agree with you too. You're probably going to end up being an underdog for whatever reason. That's just the way it works. But he, I don't know if you look at like records and things. Obviously, you probably look at records, but he's like his only 4 losses have come in the UFC, and it's like a loss win type of thing. How he is,
Yep.
And so funny enough, he's actually due for a loss on February 20th. So I'm looking forward to that.
He's gonna get that loss on February 20th. So
I actually wanted to say something about that fight card. Our guy that we had on here, he's a heavyweight. Chris Dawkins is fighting Alexei Oleinik on that card.
Yep.
I recommend if you don't talk to any UFC fighter, you go up and introduce yourself to him because he's one of the funniest individuals you'll ever talk to.
Okay, I'll make sure. I'll make sure
yeah,
to do that.
Yeah, he has a real good sense of humor and all, so he'll like make you laugh if like you're all like tense and all that week. I would definitely recommend talking to Chris.
Yeah, so when we were when I watched your last fight, it was actually funny because I was looking at my neighbor. Me and him watch all the UFC events, and I don't know what to do with myself for these past 3 weeks, so it's kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I was watching. I was like, yeah, you know what's funny about this kid? Well, I say kid, but you're older than I am. But he actually has a fight camp for this fight. And I was like, and look at the odds. And I was like, and look how many fucking fights this dude has. And like we looked at your submissions and all this stuff, and my neighbor was like, yo, first round submission. And I literally I wish I had it on like video or anything like that, because we looked at, you have like 21 or 22 submission wins.
Yeah.
Right? So like, that's crazy. And he called it in like 50 seconds in. You know, if Hazmat wasn't on that fight card, you were getting the 50G bonus that night.
No, the thing is with that whole thing is I feel like I got screwed out of the 50Gs, man.
You absolutely did.
So that's fine. Hazmat got his, Mackenzie Dern got hers, and then Acosta got his. Which them are the 3, they absolutely deserved it. But I have to disagree with Damon Jackson getting his bonus over guillotine, over getting his ass kicked for 3 rounds and then pulling off a guillotine.
Right.
I pitched a shutout. He got his ass beat for 3 rounds and then got a guillotine. I don't know. For my opinion, I deserve that $50,000. So I'm going to have to make up for it here and give him no chance on February 20th to get that 50 Gs.
Yeah, you absolutely deserved it, man, that night. And that's crazy because of not only because of what you did and how fast you did it, was the hype around TJ leading into that fight. Like, no respect whatsoever, right? And
well, yeah, and he it's not like he's just all of a sudden won on the Contender Series and was a big hype. He's had hype around him for years. I fought on the same card as him in Canada like 6 or 7 years ago, and he had big hype then. So yeah, I mean, he's always had hype. So that's the thing.
Right.
That whole bonus situation. Golly.
It should have been you, and it's whatever. But what do you think of Charles Rosa as an opponent, and how do you think the fight goes down?
Man, yeah, I like him as an opponent. I definitely like the matchup. I think he's a name. People recognize his name a lot, you know, and I think it's going to be a quality win for me. As far as the fight playing out, the fight will end up on the mat if I take it to the mat because he's not taking me down. But as grappling wise, I feel like everybody talks about his black belt. I don't have a black belt, but I feel like if I would have put on a gi, I would be a black belt by now. So I feel, man, I wherever the fight plays out, it's going to play out. If we end up on our feet, banging it out, I think he's going to get desperate and take a shot. Wherever the fight goes, it's a tough fight, and I'm looking forward to it. I got a full training camp. I'm going to have 7 weeks with James Krause. This will be the first time I've had 7 weeks in probably forever. I don't think I've ever had 7 weeks unless it was for some that I knew I was going to be on the fight card and it was some guy, some bum I end up fighting or, something like that. But I've never had for my big fights. I've never had 7 weeks. So
Right.
I'm excited for that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then funny thing, you just brought up your head coach, James Krause. He's your head coach, right?
Yeah. Yep. During
Okay.
camps, he's definitely my guy.
Oh, yeah. So I thought that was like one of the biggest decisions you as a fighter have made to date is going into training camp with James Krause now. That guy's IQ in the fight game, even when he fights, obviously, but like I think I don't want to throw any shade at James Krause because he's a hell of a fucking fighter. He's an unbelievable fighter. But he might be one of those guys that can be just as good of a coach, if not better, than he was a fighter.
Oh, he'll tell you he's a better coach than he's a fighter too. I mean, he's great at both. But yeah, he's a phenomenal coach. My decision to go down there was made. Basically, TJ was training in Vegas. That's where I used to go, but it worked out great. I called James up. He's coached against me 4 times. I used to stay in Vegas with Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott moved back to Kansas City, so I stay with him down there now. It was like all the stars aligned to be down there with him, and I got to experience firsthand, now what everybody's been talking about, the hype of his coaching ability, and he's starting to elevate my game that much more. And 7 weeks with him is gonna be something special to end the performance. So I definitely look forward to the next 7 weeks and seeing how much I improved, because I improved in the last since I've been with him right before Laramie. So August to now, probably more than I have in the last 6 years. So I'm excited to see what 7 weeks does for that.
Yeah, and you hit on it too in your post-fight presser after the Laramie fight, is how, because I was watching some of your fights from when you were on the regional scene, and I swear you were like, as soon as you even like smelled a little bit of like danger from somebody, you were like just jumping on people. You know what I mean? Like that's what you want to do, get the finish, be explosive, whatever. But now you're like, James, I guess, has said, listen, we don't always have to go for the finish right away. Let's slow down. Let's do it, But if you can hit on that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so James, I mean, first thing he said, he's like, I always tell, because I fought Grant, Kevin Kroom, it was like, first round is going to be a motherfucker with Darrick Minner. Like, it doesn't matter who you're fighting. I've never lost the first round, okay? Right. And in 36 professional fight, I've never lost the first round. So, yeah, man, he's making settle down, everything I've already known, but like, man, when I smell blood, I want to kill, and that's just the thing. And so we're starting to slow it down. My IQ is raising. My fight IQ is going through the roof. I think that's something not that I lacked inside the cage, because I feel like because I coach my brothers and I coach some guys, that my fight IQ outside the cage is great, but once I get in there, like sometimes when I get people hurt, like I just want to kill them. I smell blood. I want to go for the finish, and now I get to just melt people instead of just choke them right away. I'm gonna melt them into want to give me their neck instead of rushing for it. And sometimes, holding onto the chokes too long, slipping off or whatever. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I'm excited for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So I want to hit on the I did this with the previous couple fighters that I've had on, and I just read off the top 5, top 6 guys in your division, and you say like what you think of them and how a fight would go against said opponent.
Okay.
So you got the champ, which I think he lost his last fight, or in my opinion, but
yeah,
Volkanovski. How do you see a fight going against him?
Man, that would be freaking. I mean, his ass is good, man. Like, hopefully he rushes in and I freaking jump on his neck and choke him out. I mean, I don't know. Like that's a fun fight, man. I mean, I got a little ways till that happens, but yeah, I mean,
well, the good thing about the UFC, all you need is like that one, like even though your last performance was phenomenal, like you put like 2 or 3 together like that, you're cracking the top 15 by your 3rd fight in the UFC, 4th fight in the UFC.
Yeah, man, and the good thing about me is all these guys you're gonna name is I have danger factor that a lot of people don't have. Like when you fight me, you know it doesn't matter if you're number 1 or number 80 in the division. You know that there's danger in fighting me.
Right, absolutely. I don't know what the hell just happened to my phone, but
That's good.
So yeah, I think that's one of the coolest things about the UFC. Like even when we had Chris Dawkins on, he only has 2 fights in the UFC, and I mean his performances have been obviously great. Like heavyweights, it's such a broad division. That's like a whole nother world because there's so many talented guys at 145 that aren't even ranked in the top 15. You know. And it's just like those guys that are up and coming is just like it's so much fun to watch your guys' fights because you got people out there that'll, you know, strangle you to death like yourself, and you got people out there that'll put your lights out like a Josh Emmett or like a Jeremy Stevens type of guy. But there's a fight coming up. I think it's Calvin Kattar versus who the hell he's fighting?
Max Holloway.
Max Holloway, yeah. Who do you like in that fight?
Man, Cater's a motherfucker, man. I'm gonna edge towards Cater, but you never know. You know, Max is tough. I think that's gonna be a stand-up battle, and you know, whoever lands more punches is gonna win. You know, I don't think that either one of them is gonna put each other away, but that's a fun fight, man.
That is a fun fight. Yeah. Well, have you ever been to Philly?
I have not. No, but I have. I think we fly into Philly for CFFC maybe. One of our guys fought on there. I cornered. Okay. Yeah, I think I flew in there one time or something like that. But
yeah.
No, I haven't.
All right, I was going to ask you if you ever had a cheesesteak from here, but you got to.
I have not. I don't eat red meat though.
Oh no, okay, I got you.
It sounds like it might be a cheat day then.
Yeah. But we want to thank you for coming on, Darrick. We appreciate it. We'll definitely be watching, and I'll definitely be doing a definite 2-fight parlay already. You and Dawkins.
Let's go.
So looking forward to winning that money and you winning, you know, your 2nd fight in the UFC. Can't wait.
Yeah, we gotta get this bonus. So
exactly.
Yes.
Yep. Get that 50G. Hey, if
Let's
you get
go.
the bonus, you got to promise a shout out when you're getting interviewed.
Oh man.
Maybe after, because I don't even remember my coach's name.
I know.
I know.
And when I'm interviewing, man, I stumble all over my words.
I know.
Especially that last one. That last one I watched the interviews. I'm like, damn, I don't make sense, man. At least part of it was ran with, you know, the whole I hope you lost your ass. But
Yeah,
man,
exactly.
I don't even remember like the time that the fight started, and then all next thing you know, it was like the interviews, and then we were at the hotel, and I was like, what just happened in the last 45 minutes? Because literally they ship you over an hour and a half before your fight. You wrap, you go fight, and then you go tent, interview, tent, and then you're out. And then it's like within like in 2 hours, I was back at the hotel watching the fights.
That's crazy, dude.
You know, I'm like, what just happened? You know, so. But yeah, man, I thank you guys for having me and stuff like that. You know, so
yeah, dude. We're looking forward to February 20th, and you know, best of luck with everything, man, in your career, and we'll have you on soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, after we get this W, you guys look me up. We'll get back on.
All
yes,
right,
sir.
cool, perfect.
All right, best of luck.
Thank
again,
you,
right?
and Happy New Year to you and the family.
Yes. Happy New Year, guys.
All right.
I'll see you, Darrick.